Thank you for staying with us. Across Israel, families of hostages being held by Hamas are protesting a day after double Israeli strikes hit a hospital in Gaza. At least 20 people, including 5 journalists, were reportedly killed in these strikes on the Nasser hospital in Yunis. Although Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls it a tragic mishap, the United Nations Human Rights Office is calling for justice and accountability. Local police say all roads in Israel have now been reopened to traffic after major routes were blocked by protesters, including the families of hostages calling for the release of their loved ones.
2 missiles slammed into Nasser Hospital in Yunis on Monday. At least 19 people were killed, including 4 journalists. Among them was 33-year-old Mariam Daga, a freelancer who worked with the Associated Press and other outlets. She had often reported from Nasser, documenting the struggles of doctors trying to save starving children. Al Jazeera confirmed its journalist Mohammed Salam was also killed, while Reuters said a contractor cameraman died and another photographer was wounded. The Israeli military acknowledged the strike in the hospital area, saying it regrets civilian casualties and will investigate, but press freedom advocates say the pattern is clear. The Committee to Protect Journalists say at least 192 reporters have been killed in Gaza during the 22-month war, making it the deadliest conflict for the press in modern history. Meanwhile, famine is tightening its grip. Gaza health officials say 289 people, including 115 children, have died from starvation and malnutrition. The IPC Global Hunger Monitor confirms famine is already occurring in Gaza City and could spread south by the end of next month, the first of such declaration ever made in the Middle East. By late September, more than 640,000 Gazans are expected to face catastrophic hunger, while over 1 million more will be in emergency conditions. Aid groups say Israeli restrictions on food and medical supplies are driving the crisis. Israel dismisses the famine warnings as an outright lie. As the war rages on, both journalists and civilians in Gaza are running out of food, shelter and safety. While Israel vowing to intensify operations in Gaza City and other Hamas strongholds, humanitarian agencies warn the toll of both bombs and hunger is only set to rise.
Journalist Francis Hughes joins me to discuss the state of the war in Gaza. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
And since the war began, about 192 journalists have been killed. What does this mean about the state of the war? And why do you think journalists are being targeted at an unprecedented scale?
Well, I think what we have witnessed previously is the death of journalism in the global north. We have the Western elite who own and control the media, who have been giving a very untruthful reportage of what's happening in Gaza and indeed in all of West Asia. So what we have are tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people globally bypassing the MSN, the mainstream media, and watching what's happening on the ground in Gaza through social media. So there's been a groundswell of people who are witnessing the truth through the likes of Al Jazeera, Press TV, Nigerian TV, TRT, and Russia Today, along with those who are on social media who are witnessing the truth. And I think that the Zionist genocidal regime is concerned that the truth is getting out, and that is why they don't allow international foreign correspondence on the ground in Gaza. It is not about their safety. It is to control the public narrative of what is happening on the ground. And what we're witnessing is a concerted, systematic attempt to silence the voices in Gaza that are telling us the truth.
And after so many advocacies, by journalists, other organizations calling for help in Gaza, the war still continues. Does it seem like the international community may have failed that region?
Well, people are calling for, I believe it's Article 7 of the United Nations, to allow a military force to intervene and end this genocidal ethnic cleansing of the indigenous population of Palestine, both in Gaza and in the West Bank. And let us not forget, there are 2 million what are described as Arab Israelis in historic Palestine, in the Zionist state of Israel. So what's going to become of them going forward? But unfortunately, we have witnessed the United Nations and others do absolutely nothing to protect the life of civilians on the ground, Palestinians on the ground in Gaza, and mere condemnations and threats of potential sanctions going forward are nothing less than political theatre. They are simply being used as like a slap on the wrist for the Zionist genocidal state, while actually allowing the genocide to continue.
Let's talk about protection of journalists globally. Does it seem like there's an erosion of this? Seeing Gaza, seeing places like Ukraine, does it seem like this is the most extreme example of what can happen to journalists, especially in war-torn regions?
Well, a lot of journalists actually go to the war front. They go to the line of contact. They are there for, reporting on a story. They're there for 24 hours. They then remove themselves from the contact zone, from the conflict area. But every single person, every single Palestinian in Gaza is a target. The doctors are not safe. The health workers are not safe. The civil defence ambulance drivers who go to help the injured and retrieve the dead are not safe. The journalists are not safe. The people working to try and provide emergency food on the ground are not safe. And we all know they are murdering Palestinians in Gaza who are simply queuing up for food to try and protect their families from this campaign of starvation being waged by the Zionist genocidal regime. So what we're witnessing in Gaza at the moment, and indeed in the West Bank, I do not really see any parallels when it comes to the murder of journalism and journalists in a systematic attack by a rogue, racist, fascist state.
Journalist Francis Hughes, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.